Ciao, hi, hey guys. Hey again, guys, it's your boy M.K.S. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook as well. Ciao, hi, hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S. Sorry, I do the intro twice because sometimes one platform takes a while to upload. I upload on both Facebook and YouTube right now because I meant to make a TikTok account, but I forgot to do that and I haven't really got around to doing that yet. Yeah, just in case like something goes wrong with one, I have a copy somewhere or whatever, if you know what I mean. I have a record of it somewhere or whatever. But anyway, welcome to the third and penultimate part of my top footballing dreams and also my plans and thoughts and ideas and just general thoughts on football, really. Yeah, I'm making a late night upload. It's a Friday night after all, because it's Friday, and also I was out at a team morning or warm bank or whatever, as we call them here in the UK or whatever, and I was also spending time going through some plans with my friends. So anyway, yeah, so I got a bit delayed, but also I thought as it's a Friday night, instead of watching TV, I'm uploading these videos. But anyway, I hope you enjoy them. And here goes. These are pointers number 21 to 30 as per usual. So yeah, here goes. So number 21, as the saying goes, 21 again. I was thinking it'd be cool as a fan of Italian football and Celtic, as I mentioned before. And to recap that, I think it'd be cool for people to find out and learn about the history of Italian football and of course Celtic. Italian teams like Fiorentina, Frosinone, and others, especially Fiorentina, Sampdoria, Parma, AC Milan, and teams like that, which have huge historical significance. Apparently, there's the what's called the Seven Sisters of Italian football, and according to Google, which are the main teams in Italy from its founding in Serie A, the Italian league, and back in the 90s, I remember teams like Parma, Sampdoria, Fiorentina, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Roma, and teams like that. And I love for them to get back to their glory days, especially Milan and Roma. So yeah, helping the Italian football to get back to its glory days. I suppose with Celtic, in some ways, I guess they are at the glory days at the moment, Celtic, because in the 90s, unfortunately, Celtic wasn't too good. But I'd love for, as it happens, when Italian football was at its peak, Celtic wasn't so good, but I'd love for both to do well together and for Italians to support Celtic as a second favourite team or whatever, or one of the top teams, and vice versa. So to build a link between them. I know there already is, like the Italian Celts, but also I'd love to encourage people to learn about the history of football more generally, especially Italian football, I'll say personally. And also for football fans to have more of a say generally, even rival football fans. Talking about 21 again, as I covered, I think, in part 2. Just trying to think of anything I might have forgotten, which would be quite ironic in 21. So I think I like things to remember, 21 again. But yeah, I mean, I have a nostalgia for the 90s, and I'd love to see Italian football get back to its glory days. I'd love for Italy, on that note, to have, come to think of it, to have like, I've just remembered an idea of mine, which is like to see a campaign for like hashtag please make Italian football great again. And like it could be on billboards and taught in schools and things like that. And on that note, also I remembered another idea, which is like former footballers in Italy to go and like talk in assemblies at schools, talk to children about like preventing knife crime and crime generally, and how to improve their diets and how to practice and how to get into football, and also to coach youth teams in Italy and that kind of thing, and for Italian teams, especially youth teams and schools and junior teams to go all over the world, be invited all over the world. Like they could work with, like visit Rwanda, visit Saudi, visit Ireland or discover Ireland and that kind of thing. So different tourism industries to be invited to different countries and just be, I love for them to invite to different countries and work with different football teams around the world generally, which I hope to come to. But yeah, hopefully I haven't forgot anything, but I'm going to move on to number 22. I'd love to see what could be developed in the future, could happen in the future for football, again, having more fans having a say on, like, so FIFA and UEFA or whoever, whichever other football bodies, not making changes without consulting the fans and having opinion polls for fans and things like that. Also, talking about Italian football and in the future Celtic, but for this month, ideally, if I can, I would love to have Zoom chats with all possible Italian football fans that connect together. Italian football fans, Italian football lovers, through like Calcio to connect. Calcio being football as well as kick. It means football and kick in Italy, apparently. So yeah, I'd love to connect with as many Italian football fans as possible on Zoom and record them, record videos on ideas, plans, thoughts, and opinions and whatnot on Italian football, recorded onto YouTube and TikTok and whatnot. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we can achieve in the future. And in the future, in other months, I would also love to connect with Celtic fans, and maybe even have different sort of podcasts or shows with collaborating with Italian football fans, certainly, and Celtic fans, sometimes even Italian football fans and Celtic fans together, Italian Celts, for instance, maybe, and sometimes even with football fans, including rival football fans as well. I'd love to be part of those sort of things. Number 23, I'd also love to be involved in football fundraising events, and for Italy and Celtic to host as many of those as possible. And also, I'd love for Italian football and Celtic to have as much legal investment and funding as possible, which I've talked about in the past, I know. But I'd love to, I know I talked about like how I'd love for Italian teams to be co-owned by companies that begin with the same letter or letters. And I'd love for Roma, come to think of it, to be co-owned by like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or even like a joint collective. I'd love for there to be an Arab sovereign wealth fund which connects all the Arab nations together, investing together, and also one for African countries and one for Asian nations, where all the different African and Asian nations, as well as Arab nations, sort of network together. So that one could be for Arab nations all around the world, investing in each other, but also investing in Italian football and Celtic. And another could be for African nations investing in each other and also in Italian football and Celtic. And another one could be for Asian nations investing in each other, which I hope will strengthen their relations as well. But from a footballing point of view, I dream they will invest in Italian football and Celtic. And for neurodivergent creatives like myself and people with mental health problems, as I say, there's a method to the madness. So we're quite creative, as well as neurodivergent people. People with mental health problems can be quite creative as well. So showing what we could do to come up with all possible ideas to attract investment and sponsorship and even donations into Italian football and Celtic, as long as it's done legally, most importantly. But so yeah, hopefully there'll be like infinite possibilities, so to speak. Yeah, and also with great power comes great responsibility. So I'd love for Italian football and Celtic to fundraise as much as possible. In the future, I'd love to be involved in like Soccer Aid and loads of different events to make the world a better place, to fundraise through football. And I talked about like how I love for Italian football and Celtic to work together with, not just with each other, but with FIFA, UEFA, the FIFA Foundation, the UEFA Foundation, and charities and NGOs generally, and even governments perhaps generally, acquire as much investment as possible. Number 24, I think that countries that are colonized, former colonies, should be able to host more World Cups, and hopefully they'll benefit from them financially as much as possible. As an anti-imperialist, I know I support Italian football, but that's in spite of the fact they were a former colony or whatever, not because of it. So it's my one concession for supporting Italian football, but I won't go into too much detail into that right now. But I also mentioned, I know before, about I would love for all those involved in football in Italy, in Italian football, and also even in the wider society in Italy to come together. So like the FIGC, the Italian FA, Serie A, Serie B, Serie G, amateur level, semi-pros, the grassroots level, parks, schools, and everyone in Italy to come together to encourage football, even like football in the community, to cut crime and look at how football can be used for the greater good. Number 25. One idea I was holding back due to my patterns, and I thought I'd wait till point number 25 because Christmas is on the 25th. Is I thought as a late Christmas present, one thing I'd love for is for investors to invest in Italian football. Maybe being naive and idealistic of me, but talking about my dreams. Another thing is I would love for famous fans of Italian football and Celtic as well to, in Celtic's case, to even buy a footballer each for Celtic. So I thought, like, what if Snoop Dogg, who said he wanted to buy Celtic, what if he bought the club 2 strikers? I thought he could say he's going to specifically buy a player on Celtic's behalf as a late Christmas present to the fans, and also like people like Billy Connolly, Frankie Boyle, Kevin Bridges, and other famous / famed Celtic fans. I think that'd be pretty cool if they bought a player for the club. That could be part of their legacy. Like even Rod Stewart, people like that, famous Celtic fans. And certainly I think the fans should appreciate it, but as a late Christmas present. So maybe even saying if the club is not going to buy a player, at least some of the celebrities could. I mean, if 11 celebrities got together, that could be a whole team they could buy. If 22 did so, they could buy as a whole squad of players, I guess. But yeah, so, or they could put money together between them. But yeah, and hopefully buy not just cheap footballers, but the best possible quality, which might mean you have to pay a bit more. But again, being a late Christmas present. Number 26. I support Celtic as an anti-imperialist, and one idea I thought of is like I think the Irish community in Glasgow and across Scotland could get reparated for the harsh treatment of the Irish, and because Celtic is such, as well as Hibs, but especially Celtic, are such are such pivotal clubs for the Irish community in Scotland and Edinburgh as I call it, and sometimes and across Scotland, perhaps the money that could be given in reparations to the Irish people for discrimination they faced, and like the potato famine and Irish people being enslaved and things like that, could go towards benefiting Celtic and Hibs, and several teams with an Irish connection in Britain. I think of Celtic as the biggest one with an Irish connection, and I'd love for people of Irish descent around the world to support Celtic, including financially. Hopefully having a bigger fan base will lead to more profits as well, but I suppose those profits are going to be reinvested into buying better players and investing in the academy. One of the reasons why I support Celtic, I say, is because I'm an anti-imperialist, and I suppose I could have said point number 25. I almost forgot what point I was on then. I thought I was still on point number 25, but is like because they support republicanism, as in republics. There are some things that Celtic does that I don't agree with, like the IRA support, public fan of violence, and that kind of thing. I think they should compensate victims of abuse, especially those that happen at what's called the boys' club at Celtic, and also make sure they learn lessons from the past. But yeah, I think they should give the victims like maybe like £1 million each if they can, and maybe like I talked about like the Catholic Church investing in Celtic, but maybe that could go towards covering any debts or things like that, for instance, including like compensation and things like that. So at the same time, I think Celtic should be reparated for like the harsh treatment of the Irish, but at the same time, I think they should give back in reparations. I hope that makes sense. Number 27, I also think of like the charitable work Celtic does, and I hope to think of reasons to support Italian football and dribble, to support Celtic. I'll say rewards for the charitable work they do. And talking of which, I've just remembered another idea of mine, which is like, I'm full of ideas, being dyslexic and all that kind of thing, and being mad as well. But I thought of an idea where, like, again, I know I talked about it before, but like there was match the fine for Palestine, where Celtic was fined for flying Palestinian flags, in Israel, playing against an Israeli team. Now, I myself am quite. I try and get along with everyone, try not to take sides if I can help it, although I'm an anti-imperialist. I don't know enough about the history of Israel and Palestine, and I know there's been atrocities committed by both sides, but I know Celtic are big fans of Palestine, so hopefully benefit from Palestinian supporters, although I know it can alienate alienate some other people. But yeah, I think I don't know if that's where I got this idea from, but I thought if there could be match the donations given by Celtic. So, for instance, Celtic giving to good causes. I'd love for maybe like Qatar, Dubai, the UAE, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, maybe even China, India, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, private equity funds, banks, businesses, and investors generally, and sponsors basically generally, to sponsor the club, and whatever we give away to charity, similar with the town teams, whatever we give away to charity, I'd love for us to give 10% of our equity away and all our prize money, preferably ASAP, to good causes like supporting tech development in Africa, supporting STEM for Africa, supporting African game makers, Africans to make their own video games, Africans in tech generally, and things like that, and supporting people in developing nations in STEM. And if they match the charitable giving, like if companies with huge bank accounts like Apple, Amazon, Alibaba, and others, if they, Microsoft could be an example, if they say, well, match what you give away in charitable giving and use it as part of their PR, then I guess hopefully the clubs will benefit, the Italian clubs and Celtic respectively, and the charitable causes they support, and the companies will also benefit from PR as well for their PR. So, for instance, if Celtic manages to give away 100 million or even a billion away to charity, if Qatar say, okay, we're going to give you a billion to match what you give away to charity, and Abu Dhabi does the same, and Dubai and whatnot, the more we would give away to charity, the more we would benefit. So, like if 1,000 people matched what we give away to charity, it would be unthinkable amounts of money, but it'd be pretty cool. Hopefully, we'll invest in buying better players and invest in the academies, but also that could be academies overseas as well, and youth empowerment and supporting young people around the world and supporting people all around the world as well. And the more we would be able to even give back in the future, so it'd be, I suppose, the opposite to a vicious circle. It'd be a positive circle. So we would give away to charity, I say we as a supporter, we as a fan, and then we would get more funding, which would mean we'll be able to buy even better players and invest in the academies, and then we'll hopefully win even more trophies, and then we'll be able to get even more funding and give even more away, even more prize money away to charity. The other thing is, if we could give our prize money away, ideally, that would hopefully mean neutrals would support us. So when we get to a final, people might say, oh yeah, we want Celtic to win, because we know if they win, they're going to be able to donate a couple of grand in some cases, or sometimes a couple of $100,000 or whatever it might be, or even a few million to helping tech for Africa. I hope that will make sense. Number 28, I hope to use football to turn negatives into positives, as I say, to fundraise for good causes. And I'm glad I just remembered this. All seems to be coming together, I hope. But yeah, I hope to put it in practice also. But sometimes I forget things, and today I seem to have remembered most of the things, but maybe later on I'll think, oh, I forgot this. But I said in point number 13, and normally I think of 13 as an unlucky number, but 28 I think of like turning negatives, the number for turning negatives into positives. So I thought, due to the hatred from Rangers, from the Rankers, as I call them, as I said before, what if Catholics invested into and even donated to and sponsored the club, as I said in point number 13. So yeah, that's the club could capitalise on the hatred of Rangers, like the hatred they have towards Catholics. Celtic could say, why don't you donate to us? I'd love for Catholic individuals and organisations, like when they do tithing to the church, they could give 10% of that to Celtic, maybe. I might agree, but maybe even more, like 20% or whatever, and like help the club to pay any debts it has or whatever, so that they get one back on, they get one up on the Rankers for like hating Catholics. Again, some more of my quirky ideas. I know, very quirky. I know I'm a bit of a freak, but maybe that's a bit harsh on myself. But anyway, moving on, number 29. I love to get my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians into football, into learning about football, getting into football, practicing playing football in Italy and in Celtic, having our own teams, having funding to get our own teams together, and also getting into coaching in the future, more Anglo-Indians into coaching. It'd be interesting to see Anglo-Indian and other Eurasian coaches managing in the Premier League, and for Italian football, and for for Celtic. So yeah, just like it would be great to see. I think it would be great to see black and other minority or POC people of colour coaches, more Asian coaches, more mixed race coaches, and whatnot. But what do you think? I wonder. You may well disagree, which is fair enough. But also more neurodiverse people getting into football and becoming coaches, and similar with people with mental health problems, and showing a positive side to mental health, so positive about mental health, and positive about people with mental health problems, and positive about disabled people generally with football and that kind of thing. And as I say, neurodiverse people, people with mental health problems, and Indians, other Eurasians, and mixed race people getting into football more generally. And number 30, hopefully these videos are not too cringeworthy. And I'm out. And peace and love.